Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. I hope you guys can hear me. This one is the Tuesday special of Octa. Can we still hold the line? Thank you, Rusted Woods. Thank you, Sean D, T&D, K8, and everybody else for being here. A lot of the news is still ugly. Apparently, the government's going to reopen, but until then, there is no liquidity in the system, and that's still hurting the markets. But let's jump in and see what we can. Sound is 5x5. Awesome. You can hear me. Good. I'm not just talking to myself. It's also the first sign of madness, but who knows? This market would make you mad. Let's get into it. Not financial advice. And thank you all for coming. It warms my heart every day to me to be here with you all every day. And we work really hard to try put on a good show. And thank you to C. Brugge. Must be in Belgium. Happy to be silent patron. Read all your weekly updates. And that alone is worth the annual subscription. Thank you so much for being here. It was awesome. And that helps with the team as well. The ugly news, my friends. And as usual, like last week, there's quite a bit of ugly. This one is kind of funny from Coin Bureau. China's $13 billion acquisition. China accuses US of seizing 127,000 stolen Bitcoin worth $13 billion, calling it a state-level hack. Now, the good news of this is it means China cares about Bitcoin. If they didn't care about Bitcoin, they wouldn't be saying this. And they want their 127,000 Bitcoin back. Wow. Imagine there comes a time where China and the US are negotiating over GP300s, like NVIDIA chips and Bitcoin all at the same time. Our worlds would truly collide between AI and crypto. And that's a dream of mine. Has been since I've been doing this for 5 years. Two narratives are all that matters. And I hope you're all exposed. And this is also a little bit of ugly news, but it came up before. And I shared it with my son earlier today, and it made him pretty angry. But Elon said, you work, you get taxed. You buy something, you get taxed. You own something, you get taxed. It's a loop of quiet control, a system designed to keep you compliant while the government spends your money on causes you never consented to and wastes the money to endless wars, bankroll wasteful projects. We've seen a lot of that in California. To grow a government that lives off your labor while pretending to serve. And this touches on many different things that hit me over the last week or so, is the people that complain about stuff and the people that run government. I mean, as Elon says, there are takers and there are makers. The advice I would give you is be a maker and get clever so that the takers don't take you for all you are worth. Other things that dovetail into this is the whole 50-year mortgage, etc. So it's crazy. Yeah, MicroStrategy says looking good. I don't think so. MicroStrategy has fallen to a NAV premium of 1, pretty much parity. And it continues to bleed like all the proxies. And here we are. It's another sign that we'll get into that maybe the market is getting very toppy. And this is another piece of bad news too. The next 12 months job expectations are the lowest since 1980. This is a ugly, ugly, ugly piece of news. Typically, when this indicator spikes, we are in a recession. And as I always say, there's always a recession happening. And there's at least 7 of them that I can count right now across different industries. So that's also ugly. And let's hope this ugly news will discontinue. And it does. Let's get into the bad news. It's always nice to be happy about getting bad news instead of ugly news. First of all, I spoke about this before, this $100,000 Bitcoin line in the sand. It's critical. We're at 102,700 as I speak right now. What's important about this is staying above it. We've been above it now for 188 days, and we need to continue to staying above this line, maybe 189 days, give or take a day, depending on the time zone you are in. And that's going to be important. If we break through this and break through 95K, that's it. The wheels are coming off. But there's also some good news out there, which we'll get into. But we're still on the bad news. So be patient for that. November is down 6%. And historically speaking, in Bitcoin, 6% is nothing. It's a nothing burger. But in today's world, it's terrifying. And we are still teetering because of the previous slide. We've got to hold that 100K line. We'll talk about other lines we need to hold as well in a minute, looking at some on-chain data that are going to be very important. Also, Bitcoin ETF flows are down for November so far. We bled out so far 1.22 billion, which is quite a lot. But we had 4 billion come in September and October. So a billion ain't too bad. And remember, there is no liquidity in the system. There's no booze at the party. And when that happens, things drain, things get miserable. So let's hope the US government opens and then the TGA account can spend money and flush the system with liquidity. And I hope people weren't impacted. And I read as well that the cost of the US government being closed every day costs about $15 billion into the economy, which is kind of startling and bad. It's all ugly. All ugly. Now, crypto over the last 7 days against Bitcoin. XRP beat it, so did Tron and Cardano. Everything else pretty much bled out against it, including Hype, Ethereum, Binance, Solana, Litecoin, Avalanche, all ugly out there. In terms of percentages, since I did this, and again, the price has fallen about $600 since this screenshot was taken. But again, we're just down 2% since last week. So nothing has really changed. Everything is in a very tight little zone, plus minus 2%, plus minus 2%. Again, historically low volatility for Bitcoin and crypto. Well, also been smashed all year, but that's the way it works. Fear and greed is at 26 for crypto, which again, not extreme fear. So it's gone up a little bit. 25 and below is extreme fear. So we've actually improved a little, but the market has not recovered yet. And digital asset fund flows, as you can imagine, are down. Sorry about the dog banging in the back. Chasing a ball. What are you going to do? Gotta keep her entertained. Digital asset investment products saw the second consecutive week of outflows. Again, that 1.1 billion because of the lack of liquidity in the system. And we'll see. Top 50 over the last 30 days. We have Dash, Zcash. Actually, that's over the last month. So they're still hanging in there. And everything else is red. Now, thank goodness we can get into the good news and see if there are any glimmers of hope for us out there. First thing we'll touch on in terms of on-chain data, shout out to Axel. Since August, the short-term holder supply has increased by over 1 million Bitcoin to the current 5.44 million Bitcoin, up nearly 25%. This is despite coins being sold at a loss to new investors. The new investors that are coming into the space continue to accumulate. This is good. Eventually, after a spike like this, the price typically can go up, but it's not all bad. Again, when long-term holders sell, the short-term holder supply increases, and we're getting close to the max level of that short-term holder supply increasing, which basically tells us the long-term holders will continue to grow after that point. And again, I did say before earlier this year, I said the long-term holders are pretty much done selling. I was wrong. I'll take the loss on that one. They have sold more this season than ever before in history. And there are many theories as to why. One is to quantum-proof their wallets, because if you have a 15-year-old wallet with a bag of Bitcoin in it worth billions, it's not worth taking the risk. So you got to move it to a new wallet. Some are moving to ETFs. We know that for a fact from some of the OGs out there like Plan B and others. Some are probably buying yachts and castles and all that good stuff as well. That's just the nature of the beast. Now, another hold the line we need to hold here. This is the short-term holder MVRV. Very important as well to look at. It reached the local low of 0.9124. I want you to focus just on that blue line on the chart. Typically, historically, if history repeats, this shows signs of the price will stabilize. And if this metric holds above that 0.92, it will lead to a recovery back up to 115K, $120,000 Bitcoin. If it holds, it's held for the last 2 years. Let's see if it continues to hold, because this will be a very, very bullish sign. If this line breaks down, just like the 100K line breaks down, we're in for potentially a world of hurt. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But again, another line we need to hold. Now, Adam Kobasi is very bullish. He spoke today about some very simple mathematics. There's rate cuts happening, the stagflation happening, The Mag 7 are spending $600 billion a year on CapEx. There's apparently rumor of simulation checks. There's also quantitative tightening ending, which means more liquidity, which means more party. And per Adam here, he believes hold hard assets. If you do not own hard assets, you will be left behind. I hope he's right. And speaking of money, this is a cool little chart here and the lines, purple lines, are basically the 2025 action. And this is the US M2 is at an all-time high. The Chinese M2 is at an all-time high. The European M2 is at an all-time high. The whole world already has their money printers on. You may not notice it. Some of it is stealth QE, stealth printing. But eventually, Bitcoin and crypto should catch the liquidity wave. I just can't say when. So far, as I said on DCA yesterday, the tracking between global M2 and Bitcoin is in shambles. It broke down. It didn't follow. So the whole theory of 112 days is now dead. But you also have to take into account macro situations that have happened as well at the same time. So, thank you, Beauty McGee. Let's talk about AltSeason. Yes, it's still not here. No surprise there, but still at 39. But just look at how tight that little range is for the last month and a half. Incredible. 39, 39, 39, 39. Never seen that happen before. Anyway, we'll see if it persists in the future. Or maybe alts are dead forever. Anyway, allocate carefully. Now, we are a major step closer, according to David Sachs, to making the US the crypto capital of the world. They know something. I don't know what they know. Well, let's go back to a reminder of this one here, because this is all everything connective tissue. Let me think of slide 5. This one, China. China wants their 127,000 Bitcoin back. It's a state level hack, state level attack. I don't know. But we do know that this is in the kitty for the strategic Bitcoin reserve for the United States, which will not be sold under this administration. And they now hold 330,000 Bitcoin, which is a nice bag. They want to get to 1 million. Are they going to be buying 660,000 more Bitcoin? Imagine if they do. Imagine they take some of the tariff revenue and put it into Bitcoin. Boom. Bitcoin bull market will go nuts. Nuts. Mark my words. Is it going to happen? I don't know. Maybe 25% chance, 30% chance, but we'll see. Either way, for Sachs to come up and say something big is happening, I don't know. Keep an eye on it. And more TradFi banks are coming. This one is from a company called SoFi, which is, I think they are licensed across the United States. And they are now allowing their customers to trade Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol for their consumers, which is big. SoFi also handles a lot of student loans, student debt. I wonder how that will fit together. Maybe people will trade their way out of their student debt. I'm not sure. Either way, we'll watch this carefully. More TradFi is coming. More banks are coming. More Morgan Stanley advisors are going to be talking Bitcoin and crypto to their customers that manage $8 trillion. Got JP Morgan calling it the debasement trade. I mean, we've never seen anything like the tailwinds, but the price sucks. I get that. The question is, how long can it suck for? I don't know. We'll see. Flows by asset. It was red week for Bitcoin, down 932 million. Red week for Ethereum, down 438 million. Positive week for Solana, up 120 million. Not bad. XRP pulled in 28 million. Again, as I said a couple of weeks ago, there could be a rotation happening out of ETH into the cheaper, better value asset. Remember, Solana does infinitely more than Ethereum and trades at 20% of the market cap. It's illogical, but so is the price of XRP. Completely illogical. So I'm not gonna try and explain how crypto works or how they price things, but let's move on. Now, Filecoin, a blast from the past, is chasing a bid. You can see here, chasing the privacy narrative. Filecoin and all the file storage. In fact, when you look at file storage as a category here, it's 4 assets like Chia and some other stuff. But basically, Filecoin is 90% of that bag, and it's up 45% for the month. And privacy up 51%. We saw some of the bloom come off the rose for Zcash, and that's why you don't chase. If something pops, don't ever chase it because you'll be left holding the bag. We're seeing that happen now. And then social is number 3, DeFi number 4, store of value number 5, positive. But things are turning around. When I came to this a month ago, everything was negative. Now things are beginning to turn around. So fingers crossed, could be a positive sign. And another potentially positive sign, and I know we've heard this all before. People are tired. I once made a video about OTC desks, and people were like, ooh, where's my price? Anyway, OTC desks are a special vehicle. They hold a bag. So if a big player wants to buy a big bag, they have it. So for example, Michael Saylor with his STRE in Europe will be buying about 7,000 Bitcoin. Where is he going to get it from? Probably from Coinbase, etc. And currently the balance is about 120,000 Bitcoin on the OTC desks. The most important thing though is from CryptoQuant here. If this is directionally correct, yes, the OTC desk balance is teetering out. Will it ever go to zero? I don't know. If it ever does, price will rocket as long as ETFs, etc., treasuries are still buying and big players. But many people believe, including CryptoQuant, that there is not enough Bitcoin in the system. And it's getting harder and harder as each day goes by and as it's more adopted. Stocks, a little bit about stocks, very mixed this week. Nvidia down, Microsoft down, Google up, Apple up, Broadcom down, Oracle down 6%, Tesla down 3%. All across the board, mixed. No clear direction. But the AI stocks the week before were red hot despite being a very rough week. This week, they're bad. And what's also very important here, if you look at the finance in the middle top section, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Visa, all of them are green. And there's a theory in markets when the banks, the regional banks, the big banks are all green, the market can't crash. So this actually is a very bullish sign. When the banks bleed, they typically bleed first when there's a problem. But maybe the banks sniff out new liquidity coming their way. And again, yet another positive piece of news, despite AI being a little bit, nervous right now. Stock fear and greed is at 31, higher than that of crypto, but also out of the extreme fear side where it was last week. When Banana Zone from Sir Jeffrey? I don't know. We may not even get one. In fact, I heard Raoul Paul become very bearish all of a sudden. So shout out to Raoul, friend of the channel. We don't know. We don't know. But remember as well, in life, risk happens fast. So you wake up one day and things could be on the moon and you're sitting there saying, oh, I'm glad I waited. Or you could say, oh, I sold a year ago and I'm happy I sold a year ago because that was the top. It's hard to say. But I can tell you one thing for certain, my friends, everything in crypto and Bitcoin is very different this time. Very, very different. There are no similarities anymore whatsoever. We've run longer. The flows are different. There's no volatility. There's no drawdowns. There's no blow off tops. There's different players. It's bizarre. Anyway, we'll see what else is happening. Now, shout out to Alexandra Mertz, Tesla Boomer Mama. This all came about, and the reason I'm going to talk about this for a second is the importance of synergy and the potential for Tesla shareholders to be able to get some exposure to XAI and SpaceX. And Alexandra Mertz is kind of the head honcho running, and I'm on with her on Thursday, by the way, this Thursday on Cyber Bulls. But we need to act to enable the board to properly prepare Tesla investing in XAI and SpaceX. Why is this important? Well, so many reasons. We'll get into that in a second. First of all, speaking of SpaceX and our friends in Canada and our friends in Japan, if you're watching, if anybody from Japan here, let me know. You can now connect your phone device, your Apple Watch, etc., to Starlink. And that means if you're in the wilderness, in the mountains, snowboarding in a place where there's no cell signal, yeah, you got signal now on your little iPhone, which is very practical actually when you're snowboarding. And that's great. But the point I'm trying to make here is SpaceX has global comms. And global comms will be important for autonomy, vehicles running around, robots running around. They need to be able to communicate and not depend on some traditional network that's out there. Also, for those of you who know XAI, they have a thing called Grok, and they came out with a thing called Grok 4 Fast. It was supposed to be a lighter, faster model to give you deep answers quicker. and they just came out with the new benchmark. And basically, it can beat the best level intelligence GPT-5. It can match it and beat it, but it costs 95% less and it's 150% faster. So it's better, cheaper, faster. And that's the most important thing in the world, in anything. GPT-5 is $1.25 per million versus 10/million. But I don't even know what any of these numbers mean. But anyway, the point is, it's a lot cheaper and a lot faster. And this is how it's going to hurt all, especially OpenAI, ChatGPT, is going to hurt them. And the other thing it's important to know, very few people actually use Grok right now. Only people who are on Twitter, pretty much. But there'll come a time when people will seek it out and find it and discover it's much better than the other LLMs. So watch this space carefully. Again, XAI, the brain that could be in the robot, will be very important to have a synergy between Tesla and the company. And a letter from Denholm, Robin Denholm, the chair of the Tesla board. This is all about the last week we had the comp plan approved. People are in shambles about that. 77% voted for it because it means an easy roadmap to a 10x plus of your stock. And this is the new chapter, not the new chapter, the new book they call it, as for a while, of the age of autonomy. Again, Robotaxi Optimus, growing abundance for all. This is what's happening next. And it's not just cheap talk. It's real. It's very real. The only people that don't believe it are people that aren't exposed to it. And all your cars are robots driving around. And, I spoke for years about the synergy between Musk Industries, everything from Boring Company. I always believe data centers should be buried so they're not exposed to missiles blowing them up, blowing up all those GPUs. The materials and the technology within SpaceX and the comms within SpaceX are critical to the cars. And XAI is the brain that's critical. We now have Grok in our car. It's incredible. You can be driving along and come up with the deepest question, like how high should a deer fence be? Kidding. No, not kidding. And ask your car, and it'll give you the very, very scientific answer. I mean, you have a team of Einsteins at your fingertips everywhere you drive in the car, and it's just stunning. This is the synergy, or now, as Elon Musk says, trending towards convergence. Together, they are stronger, and they need to be part of each other. And finishing now with meme du jour, which is kind of, sometimes the memes are really not a meme. The new mayor of New York is promising $30 per hour in wages. But remember, when things get very expensive, technology finds a way to solve that expense problem. And I found this quite profound this morning. New York City restaurants are hiring cashiers from the Philippines, and you talk to a Zoom person for about $3 an hour. Now, my question is, how do you control theft? People just walking. I don't know. I'm sure they have a way around that, or maybe we'll see. But the point is, when things get very expensive, it becomes viable to invest in technology to overcome being priced out of the market. And that's basically what happens. So sometimes decisions can be made that actually don't make sense and can ultimately hurt people more. And we saw this case happen in California where the governor made minimum wages high for fast food restaurants. Basically, it destroyed a lot of pizza chains because they could no longer afford to pay their staff at the new high level. So it is a scary time. Watch for technology. If things get priced out of the market, technology will find a way to solve the problem. Big thank you to Buckhorn, Rusted Woods, DBF for 30, BD McGee, Piper01, Wagabond, and Swiper No Swiping. Appreciate you all. And everything's turned into a podcast or an email as well. I go fast. I want to thank everybody for coming. And that was 50 slides in 24 minutes. I appreciate you all. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. Stay healthy, my friend.